Hello there, anyone who's watching. I am back again with my friend Groovy, or the Groovy Feline, wherever you may find her on the social medias. I'm pretty sure I'll have those linked down below. But anyways, we're back again. We're not doing a movie review. Instead, we're kind of just doing a fun little art project that we just felt like doing. We did a little art trade. Basically, each of us drew up a sketch, just something fun, just something that kind of piqued our interest, and then we gave the sketch that we did to the other person to see what they would come up with, how they would like finish off with the sketch. It was just basically a fun idea, you know, to just kind of stimulate us as artists and as friends, just something fun to do. You want to say hi, Groovy, because you're here?
Hey!
Yeah, there she is.
This is my first time doing an art trade, and I've wanted to do one for a long time, and I just had so much fun with it.
Anyways, we're gonna get started here on the video footage, but before we do that, I quickly wanted to just shout out this fundraiser that another fellow artist, Arma Platypus, is still undergoing. She's been having, well, her and her family have been going through some struggles, and I recently made a video about this trying to promote her fundraiser, but it's still going on. They could still use more help, so I'm going to just go ahead and leave a link to that in the description.
Also, she does have commissions open. Her art's super cute, so consider getting a commission from her.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Have you commissioned her, Groovy? I'm curious.
Yeah, I commissioned her, and she worked in such a timely manner, super friendly, and her art style is just super cute.
Okay, I think that's good enough for an intro. We'll go ahead and just start playing the video. Yeah. I'm not sure if I prefer sketching traditionally versus digitally. I know when it comes to like a more finished product, digital is like a lot more helpful because it allows you to like adjust for any mistakes or just to really like clean it up nicely, whereas sketching is not really much of a problem. And I know I've been having like a lot more freedom in my sketches, especially in my sketchbooks. It's been a lot easier for me to just kind of like sketch out an idea, and I've gotten a lot better, but I don't know if there's like too much of a difference between sketching traditionally versus sketching like digitally. Like I mentioned, digital you allow for like, you know, any adjustments. It makes it a lot easier, especially if you don't like have a very visual idea of what it is that you want, and you also don't have to worry about going back in and erasing all the sketches and just ending up with like a huge like eraser smudge mark, like you can't get all of the graphite off. So that's definitely a perk with sketching digitally. I think for me the biggest issue is that I'm working with a Wacom tablet, not a Cintiq, so I'm not drawing directly on the screen. There's just that slightest bit of disconnect between what I'm drawing and what's like coming up on the screen. It doesn't feel quite as natural, but it doesn't throw me off like too much that it deters me from drawing digitally at all. But I don't know, I don't know how much nicer it would be to work with a Cintiq versus a tablet, but I mean, like, just looking back on like the sketch here, it's so nice to just like see your work kind of slowly come together and see things get fleshed out. It's very satisfying in a way.
Yeah, like I love just, especially with like the speed paints, just honestly replaying them over again, because it is fun to just kind of revisit that process. And yeah, I was gonna say too, like I have the Wacom tablet too, and it's like I like it, but also I feel like there's always gonna be that sense of disconnect. Like it takes a while to get used to or something.
Yeah, especially like when you first begin, it takes a while to kind of get like that built-in muscle memory, or to kind of have your brain connect the drawing on a tablet versus seeing what's happening on your screen. It takes some adjustment, but it wasn't like too difficult initially. But I'm not sure like how much improvement there is like with Cintiq. I mean, hearing like the good reports I've heard from other people, it sounds nice, but I don't have the money right now to spend and find that out for myself. But maybe one of these days, maybe if I actually, get back to making a good, stable financial living, I can, spend a bit of cash and find that out for myself.
I've drawn on a Cintiq once, and it was probably like 10 years ago or so, and it was so nice, but it was it was before I actually kind of knew much about computers, so it took a little bit of like a lot of learning for me to get used to. But I would love to get a Cintiq too, just to have that ease. I just feel like it's so much easier, especially with like animation. I feel like it's just quicker to be able to draw straight onto a screen as opposed to the Wacom tablet.
Yeah. I mean, like...
Also, I just want to say, I love the reference images of Smack and Swat you have.
Took it directly from the source. Because I don't think I was going to find a whole lot of, like, great images on the internet. I mean, like, I can understand your frustrations now that I've got, like, a more, like, appreciation for the Mr. Bug Goes to Town film. And definitely, there's not a whole lot of art out there to really work off of, or a lot of images. You kind of have to just go off of the movie directly.
Yeah, and that's why I have like thousands of screenshots from the movie. But yeah, it's like it's hard to find a lot of like images or art, and because it's just such a forgotten film.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wanted to ask, is there like a reasoning why you do like the different, like the red lining for the sketches? Because I like, whenever I do my sketches, I always just change the opacity so it's like a gray line or whatever. But is there like a reason you like to do like different colors for like the sketch lines?
It depends on like what I am working on. It kind of helps me like separate the different features that I am working on. If I'm trying... how am I so... there goes my brain again, trying to figure out how to explain myself. Basically, it kind of helps me work on the different features. Like, for example, I may work on the initial, like, anatomy, the body of the character, and then I may want to draw some clothes over that, but I don't want to lose the dimensions of the body. So on another layer, I will use a different color to kind of help me differentiate between what I am working on, like the clothes or the body, what it is that I can see. And being able to distinguish between those different elements will also help me get a better idea of what it is that I may ink over, or how I want to like clean up the line work better. It kind of just makes sure that I don't get the line art like mixed up with one another. I kind of lose track of what it is that I'm seeing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that, and I feel like it does really help separate things like easier, because I feel like with my drawing sometimes things kind of do get a little bit muddled since I keep it kind of the same color. But yeah, I also just kind of like how the red and the gray look together. Like it makes it like even more like interesting to look at.
It is fun, yeah. I'm still really happy with how this sketch came out. It was really fun for me to like draw out the poses. That's something I find fun, I think. I mean, I know I was having fun with this. It took a little like work, I think, with some of the anatomy, especially when it comes to hands and arms and stuff like that, but getting like a feel for the flow of these characters, I definitely am proud of myself and how much improvement I've made over time with like drawing poses and capturing like certain elements or like positions or scenes or movements or stuff like that.
I was gonna say, yeah, like even when I was going over the sketch, like I just especially loved like how you handled the hands and the poses and like interpreting like their different proportions and heights into your style. Like it just they just look so cute, and I love like you said, the poses, and just the poses are like so dynamic, and they were so fun to draw.
So, do you want to go into any detail about like your art process, or like what it is that you do, like how you make your art, how you create it?
Well, first off, I have to say, I had so much fun drawing your sketch. Like I said, this was my first time doing an art trade, and it was such a unique experience for me, and we definitely need to do another one of these.
It's very tempting. But, I mean, like on top of like everything else, but I mean, I would be up for doing this again, and I don't know, I may be tempted to give you like an even rougher sketch just to like give you like a bit more like freedom to interpret like what it is that I'm giving you, and just to see like how drastically different things end up turning. But I would be down for another one of these.
Yeah, we should definitely do it that way. Just kind of like you said, kind of like even a more abstract sketch, just to see like, yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because
I like.
Sorry, go ahead and finish.
No, you first.
Well, I was gonna say like there are like different phases to my sketching. Usually, I'll start like a really, really rough construct of my sketch to get an idea of what it is I'm doing, or kind of like help sort of position what I'm doing. Just sort of like that initial scope. I don't know how to explain myself. It's sort of like, I don't know, if someone's like taking a photo of something and they're doing like that L sort of sign, like they're kind of like taking in and trying to figure out how it is that they want to have their photo's composition come about. That'll be kind of like how my sketches start. It's a really rough take, but then once I've got the idea down and I have like a better idea of like the proportions and the body's position and stuff like that, then I'll start going in for like a much cleaner sketch. And that's basically what I gave for you, because I didn't want to leave you dangling.
I know, like I usually go through like, I'll start with the super rough sketch, like where it's literally just like circles, just circles, so I at least know like the size and proportion of the characters, and then I'll make at least 3 or 4 more like rough sketches over that, adding more detail each time. And I just want to make the sketch for our trade like as like clear as possible, because usually my sketches are like I can't even tell what's going on. Yeah, usually like when because I draw in Illustrator, and I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't even, like, I kind of go on autopilot, like, I don't even, like, it's so easy for me to kind of, like, daydream while I draw, because I'm just so used to, like, the tools and everything, and, yeah, I had a blast drawing the sketch, and, like, kind of, it's interesting, because it's, like, you're still able to put your own style on it, especially since we line art and shade things so differently.
Yeah, it's
like, there's I like to use a pen tool a lot when I draw, which kind of you like have a lot of control with the pen tool, but also it kind of takes a little longer when I use it than just drawing.
Interesting.
So, like, it probably took me about 2 hours per each character.
Hmm.
And, like I was saying earlier, my program, like, crashed 10 times while I was drawing it. So I was just, like, literally every 5 minutes saving my progress, even if it was, like, one line I had drawn down.
I mean, nowadays that's just basic safety standards. I mean, like, you can have like the best art program out there, but better safe than sorry, because you never know when there's going to be those technical issues popping up and frustrating you and getting rid of all your hard work, because that's an awful feeling to just have all of your hard work gone and there's no way to get it back.
Yes, and I actually was I was using one of my flash drives a couple days ago, and it gave me this message that something about like how it couldn't be read anymore on my computer or something like that.
Yep.
And it freaked me out to no end. So but when I tried plugging it in again, everything was fine, so I don't know what happened, but yeah, it kind of gave me a mini heart attack when I found that message.
I can't recall if that was something that you had brought up to me. It's difficult for me to keep track of what it is that I talk to with other people and friends and family, but yeah, flash drives and just anything like technologically involved. If it like gives you some sort of warning and you have no idea what it is, usually just like a refresh or a restart will kind of fix the problem. But I don't know, it's kind of frustrating because a lot of people, like, nowadays, almost everybody uses some sort of, like, technology, but there's a lot of nuances that people don't know how to operate, and so when these technological problems come up, it kind of just leaves a lot of us just baffled and like, what happened? What is this? What are we to do? One thing I wanted to mention is, like, I have no idea how to use the pen tool, this sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, but the tool that you use to make your artwork, I've never really learned how to properly use it. I recall one class that I took in high school using that sort of tool, but I never really got into it. I just am used to the more traditional approach, and that's kind of how I like to draw my artwork, but I'll admit I'm impressed to just see someone be able to utilize something that I have no sort of foundation on how to utilize it at all.
Oh man, I first started using the pen tool my freshman year of college, and it literally took me 2 years to finally understand how to use it. And it's so funny because like but before I started like learning more about art and things like that, I had vowed that I would never be a digital artist, that I would never do like cell shading. I wanted to 100% be like this traditional painter and do like realistic shading. And then once I finally started understanding Illustrator and using digital art more, I was like, I was sold and hooked, and I feel like I have so much more freedom as an artist now doing digital cel-shaded work than what I would have had doing traditional. And also another thing is like back in college it was just so much more easier to only bring a laptop instead of like paintbrushes and cups and paints and big canvases and things.
Alright, it's man, every time like I see you do like the sketch of like the times where I've like gone back and looked at this video, I remember like seeing the version that you have uploaded on your channel and the music that goes along with it. I can't get that song out of my head every time I look at this. Every time I see you like doing this sketch, all I'm thinking is that I've got my Love to Keep Me Warm song, and it's so cute. It's so cute, and it matches these characters so well, and I love that he added that into the video.
As soon as I had the idea of them like sharing a scarf and it being like Christmas time, the song just matched so well because I love your OC and Papyrus together so much, and just I feel like the bounce like that song's like it has like such a fun rhythm. It's like such an energetic, fun song. I just felt like it matched the characters perfectly too. Like, and even like looking back on the sketch, it gets me already in the mood for it to be Christmas again.
Yeah. I haven't
You're
even
like,
gotten to
usually
like.
whenever.
Sorry. We can't, time each other correctly because we're not in the same room. We can't like visually cue on like when the other person's going to speak. But go ahead, you first.
I was just gonna say like whenever I draw digitally, kind of like how you were saying with like sort of the disconnect between drawing on like a Wacom tablet. I always start out with my rough sketch like super small so that I can kind of like I don't know why I just always like having it super small at first and then expanding it onto the document for some reason. And not that it is any different from how I do like the final line work, but for some reason just kind of like as a warm-up mentally prepares me for like all the drawing I'm going to have to do. Like I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, actually, I was going to say that doesn't really surprise me. I think for a lot of artists they use a similar technique. Like they will first draw a thumbnail, and when I was in my few months of art college, before we would go in for like our big final paintings, we would first start with like little thumbnails, only like an inch by inch or like just a couple inches like big, to kind of like do a rough start of what it is that we were going to create. Just working small on a scale like that kind of gives you like a better idea of how you want to compose your picture, or like maybe where you want your values to be, just to kind of like flesh out sort of like the bigger aspects of your picture, not like the smaller nitty-gritty details that you do when you go in for the final piece, just like the bigger main aspects that you want to try and capture in your piece. It's a lot easier to do when you're working on a small scale, so it doesn't really surprise me that that it's actually pretty handy when you're trying to figure out how you want your piece to come out.
And yeah, it's such like an easy and quick way to like kind of figure out like different variations of like a drawing you want to have. There's this one project I had once where we had to make 100 thumbnails for a project.
That does sound like a lot, but that doesn't surprise. I think I did something similar like that, but I don't know if it was like 100 or if it was like of the same thing, or I don't know. But yeah, that sounds like a pretty familiar art practice that beginning artists do to get into the flow.
Like, and also like with the drawing of your characters I was doing, I usually don't like with my own designs, or whenever I adapt like a character to my style, I always kind of have them not with realistic proportions. So this was kind of like, this was fun for me to try to aim for more realistic proportions, and because usually I like to draw like kind of like bigger cartoony hands or heads and things like that. So this was a lot of fun to kind of like experiment with like a different style, especially with these characters, because like I love drawing Katie Bunny so much. She's just got such a fun design. And this is my first time drawing Papyrus, so that was interesting to adapt to my style as well.
Interesting. And I saw like you had like a reference image of like how he looks in the game. I mean, like, I know I've like drawn him numerous. I've drawn him a lot before, and I wasn't sure if like what sort of reference image that you were going off of. Although I know there's like a lot of fan art of the skeleton boys from Undertale, and you could have been looking up a lot of different reference images, but were you like going primarily of like how he looks in the game to figure out how you wanted to draw him?
Mostly, but I also looked at your drawings for him from your Katie Bunny Undertale comic. I drew a lot of inspiration from like how you had him stylized because I actually really like your version of the character more than like the official game art.
Well,
So I was kind of using that as a reference too.
yeah, I mean, like, because Undertale's like, you know, it's a pixel sort of like video game, it works with pixel art, so you don't get a whole lot of detail in there as you might with other games or with more artistic rendering. Like, it's fun to see all the different ways that people will interpret the characters from that franchise, especially because the artwork in that game is kind of limited. You kind of get your own chance to flesh out the characters a bit more. So it doesn't surprise me a whole lot that the artwork from the game isn't as fun as other stuff.
I will say though, like after seeing like the artwork from the game, I would love to try to do pixel art of my own someday, but I feel like I just wouldn't really have the patience to make to make something using pixels.
And actually, I mean, I've done like a number of like pixel artwork myself, and I think depending on like knowing how to use it, I mean, I think art programs have certain ways of making that artwork, but because like pixel artwork is like on a smaller scale and more limited, because of that limitation of how much you can put into your piece, it kind of makes your work go a lot quicker, or I don't know, makes it easier. Or no, I don't. It kind of depends. If you're able to like put yourself into the right mindscape of how you want things to come about, and you're willing to work with that sort of like visual limitation, it can actually be pretty easy to quickly produce something. Okay, and here we are onto the last segment, me finishing up your sketch. It was just such a cute little sketch to work on. And I don't know what to say because my mind again is at a blank. But I love your cartoony style. It's so cute, so fun. And I wasn't really sure what to do. I mean, like, you gave me such like a clean like sketch to work with. I wasn't really sure how like to really like put my own sort of like spin on it, but definitely like a different sort of like brush aesthetic. I normally work with a more like pencily sort of textured brush, and then with like certain like shapes here and there, I may like adjust them to like fit more with just making it easier on myself, or to kind of like match with how I would do stuff like the curls in like Katie's hair and tail. I kind of went with my own sort of like method of like drawing like bushy hair or stuff like that, although still kind of giving it a bit more of a cartoony flair.
I love how you like did the bush, like the curls and the bushy hair, and that's something like I always kind of struggle with. I never know how I want to like stylize it, but I love like I love like how curly and bouncy it looks in your skin, like in your drawing.
She's so cute, just a cute little round bubbly girl.
She is so cute. Like every time you make art of her, or like when I was sketching her, she just makes me so happy. She just like has such a sweet design. Like it just she's just I love her design. And what made, like, when you were first creating her, what made you want to make her a rabbit? Was it just kind of a random decision, or is it like, was it kind of more inspired by like because I know you say you have like the rabbits, was it kind of inspired by that?
I think so. I think at the time I was making her, rabbits were like technically my favorite animal, or they were definitely becoming a more of a staple to my kind of person. I used to really like zebras, but eventually my interest in the actual animal themselves kind of faded out. It's still like iconic for my family to associate like zebras or like the zebra pattern with me, and I still like receive like zebra type items, which I don't mind. I still kind of find that as an iconic staple to my person. But there's also more of a lean towards rabbits because compared to their more docile, fragile nature, I'm a lot like a rabbit, you know, being more quiet, more soft and sweet. Although rabbits also sometimes they have really big attitudes, the little boogers. I've had some snotty little brat rabbits before, and then, but you know, sometimes I can even have an attitude of my own, so that's not too far-fetched. But I really loved like rabbits, and I don't know if they're my favorite animal still. I don't know about animals so much since it just kind of has become like really just shoved in my face, but it definitely has become like another staple to myself, just rabbits being an iconic animal. And so I think at the time I remember there was like this one comic that I was like really enjoying, and I think I had like a crush on one of the characters, or I wanted to like make a romantic partner for them. And I think like I also wanted to like create my own sort of like characters, like capturing like the style of this comic. And I remember I think it like really spurred the creation of like a lot of my more anthropomorphic characters or some of the stories. But Katie's design, I think that's how it originally came about. I really liked rabbits. I wanted to create a character to kind of like encompass myself or the sort of situations I wanted to be in, but not necessarily me myself. But after that, she kind of like started taking a different shape. Like the more I started to like lean into my own sort of ideas or stories and starting to create this world where I now associate Katie originally being from, I started to get to know her better, started to figure out her personality a bit more, make her more individualized. And after that, it was kind of the way I kind of like create characters. Once I have like an initial setup, whether it's like their design or a personality or a story, the more I start like thinking about them or them being in different situations, it's kind of like how I kind of get to know my friends, just getting to know them through conversations or spending time with them. It's interesting. I don't really think so much about like what I want these characters to be so much as it is kind of figuring out what these characters would do, kind of figuring them out as they naturally would be. I don't know if I'm explaining myself so well, but it's kind of like the characters kind of take a shape of their own.
Yeah, kind of, because like I understand that, because like I feel like that happens to me too. Like I'll create a character and maybe even like I'll have, you know, like I have an initial idea of what I want to do with them or what their personality will be like, but the more you kind of think about them or write their personalities out, it's kind of like they start to speak to you. So like in a way, yeah, if that makes sense, kind of like the more you get to work with these characters, kind of like the more unique things kind of pop up around them or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I've like grown like more used to the idea of letting characters sort of like shape themselves. Like if there's like a little detail that like pops into my head, like are they like this, or is this something about their character, like maybe an interest they have, or maybe some sort of like feature in their design maybe, or personality, or maybe some sort of quirk that they have. If I may for example, like my character Jackie, I was thinking about like all these like fun little details she may have, and one thing that came up to mind was I can't remember how it popped into my head, but the idea of her being allergic to fish or like seafood, and I'm like, I don't really like this detail, but in my brain I'm like, what are you talking about? Just let it be. It's fine. You can let this detail happen. It's like, just, so kind of like giving sway to like things that I don't want versus letting the characters sort of like taking place, or like if just something kind of pops into my head and just kind of having fun with it. Like, so I've been able to like find ways to, like, kind of take the back seat while the characters sort of shape themselves, but there's still a tad bit of like creative control, or like I'll want to make sure that I'm not forcing these characters to act outside of what they may naturally do. Like, sort of like how, for example, people, how they want to ship certain characters despite personalities not working or there being absolutely no chemistry there. I'm not gonna like force my characters to be in a relationship that I don't think would work out well for them or something like that. I've like I don't know if this may like shock or upset you, but I've imagined like Katie and like other sort of like relationships, although I can't, after like realizing like how much like similarities like she and Papyrus have in personalities, and I think even like interests, or just how well they would just like connect with each other, I really don't think there would be any other like person she would like really connect with as well or be as happy with. But I could see like her like getting into romantic relationships with like other characters or whatnot if Papyrus never showed up. But now that I've like, after like that initial like connection, I'm like, oh yeah, there's no denying these are like soulmates right here.
Because even like when I was like reading your comic, their personalities just like they just worked off each other so well, and I just like felt like they're such cute characters to be together. And that was making me like, and with how you were talking about like how the characters kind of start to speak to you in a way, was she always originally intended to be sort of like an Undertale OC, or was she like,
no,
did
actually,
you have like a different...
No, she has like no correlation to Undertale aside from when I started to imagine like what it would be like if she was to somehow enter that universe. Before I started like playing with that idea, there was no connection between there. So she's from another universe entirely. Her like initial design had nothing to do with Undertale. I don't even think I knew what Undertale was at the time, or it wasn't made when she first like came about. So it wasn't until like I started to like get more into like Undertale myself and just enjoying the franchise and its characters, and then just playing around with like fun ideas in my imagination, and then kind of like putting my own characters in there, that I really started to make those sort of connections and have fun with it in that way. Anyways, that concludes our videos. I think here, maybe at this point, I'll like have like all the images up, just like showcasing our progress and everything that we did. If anyone's made it to the end of this video, I hope you guys have a good day, evening, whatever time zone that you're watching this. Okay, signing out.